At the start of Mayor Greenberg's term in office. Tonight's virtual meeting is at 6 o'clock. More information, including the Zoom links, are on the WLKY.com and our free mobile app.
In commitment coverage tonight, Kentucky voters will head to the polls tomorrow for the primary election. This year's ballot features statewide constitutional offices, including governor, secretary of state, and auditor. Governor Beshear is facing two challengers in the Democratic primary. A dozen Republicans are running to face him, including Attorney General Daniel Cameron, former UN Ambassador Kelly Craft, State Auditor Mike Harmon, and Ag Commissioner Ryan Quarles. Polls will be open from 6 to 6 tomorrow. You can learn more about the candidates in our Commitment 2023 coverage at WLKY.com. It's also on our free mobile app.
A Korean War veteran from Radcliffe turned 100 years old today. Levi Roberts was celebrated in front of the nursing care facility that he lives off of Rogersville Road. The city's mayor, local veterans, and family members all showed up to give him a gift. He even got to take a ride in a limo, which may not seem like much, but it was on his bucket list.
That limo ride, he says, from a horse and buggy to a limousine. He said, I finally made it.
Less than 1% are serving or have served, and then of that, how many are 100 years old? So just, it's a fantastic milestone.
And Levi Roberts learned today that he's been nominated for a Purple Heart Medal. His nomination is under review right now at Fort Knox. Good luck to him. Turning to the weather now, a pleasant start to the week.
Yeah, Jay Cardosi's here with a first look at our forecast. Few clouds out there, not bad.
Not bad at all. Temperatures a mix of low and middle 70s, even close to 80 as you work south of the parkways. It's been another beautiful spring day across the region, this coming on the heels of what really turned out to be a pretty nice Mother's Day weekend as well. Right now, live look. That's from the Sheraton in Jeffersonville, looking back off to the south, and you can see the partly sunny skies overhead, the clouds a little less thick than what they've been pretty much all day today. Notice the Ohio River like glass out there right now. The wind is pretty much on the light side. We have a current temperature 75 degrees, the humidity about 50%, a northeasterly wind right now between 5 and 10 miles per hour. So here we go. You jump north of the city and we're talking anywhere from 70 to 75 degrees in southern Indiana up the I-71 corridor. Otherwise upper 70s, close to 80 across the Commonwealth. And again, with that mix of clouds and sunshine. But any plans you have on this Monday evening, there you go. Go for it. It looks wonderful across the region. A clean sweep on the radar scan. Here's your detailed hourly forecast taking you through your Monday evening, mid-70s until the sun goes down, and then we'll slip back to near 70 or so later on this evening. Now, here's the deal, Rick. What I am watching is this batch of unsettled weather off to the west of us right now, a scattering of showers and storms. That will bring us some impact weather tomorrow. So we're really going to break down that primary election day for you as far as heading out to the polls, when the best chance for rain will move through your hometown. That's all next on the 7-day forecast.
All right. Thank you, Jay.
Sure.
Potentially contaminated baby formula was shipped to stores after a recall issued, including to stores in Kentucky and Indiana. Well, you need to be on the lookout for coming up.
And two staff members were attacked inside a congressman's office. What the suspect said before hitting them with a baseball bat. Next on the news at 5:30.
You're watching WLKY News.
A congressman from Virginia says a man with a baseball bat walked into his office, asked for him, and then assaulted two members of his staff. Fairfax City Police in Northern Virginia said in a tweet that a suspect is in custody and the victims are being treated for injuries that are not life-threatening. There is no word on any motive behind the assault at the time. Jerry Connolly is a Democrat who represents Virginia's District 11 since 2009. President Biden says the situation at the border is going better than many expected.
But the number of migrants at the southern border is still very high, and there is the typical partisan disagreement about what to do about it. Skyler Henry has more details from the White House.
The number of migrants approaching the southern border has dropped significantly since the end of Title 42.
How do you think things are going at the border, sir?
Much better than you all expected.
Border Patrol agents apprehended 4,200 migrants on Saturday, down from more than 10,000 a day before Title 42 expired last Thursday. The administration says numbers are down because it's increased processing for migrants seeking asylum legally, while also increasing deportations for those who don't.
We have to incentivize the use of the lawful pathways and disincentivize placing people's lives in the hands of smugglers, and we are doing that.
Monday, dozens of migrants not eligible to stay in the U.S. boarded an Immigration and Customs Enforcement flight from Alexandria, Louisiana, back to Honduras. The White House acknowledges that border crossings are still high, but they say the best way to keep migrants from coming to the border in the first place is for Congress to enact bipartisan immigration reform.
Immigration reform gets further and further behind when we only focus on the illegal part. Why don't we create a route where people can come over legally? I think that's through work visas.
The House passed a border bill last Thursday that ramps up deportations while cutting off asylum access for most migrants. Majority Leader Chuck Schumer declared it dead on arrival in the Senate. Skyler Henry, CBS News, the White House.
And President Biden threatened to veto the House bill even if it did pass the Senate and end up on his desk.
And the president is expected to meet with congressional leaders tomorrow to talk about raising the debt limit. A planned meeting last Friday with House Speaker Kevin McCarthy and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer was postponed. The leaders did meet face-to-face earlier in the week. The White House has called for a debt ceiling hike without conditions, meaning no spending cuts attached, but Republicans want spending cuts. The Treasury Secretary has set a deadline of June 1st before the U.S. could default on its debts. And the president is back in Washington tonight after attending his granddaughter's college graduation earlier today. President Biden and the First Lady were in Philadelphia for Maisie Biden's graduation from the University of Pennsylvania. The president did not speak at the ceremony. Singer and actress Idina Menzel was the commencement speaker.
U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland spoke to the annual National Peace Officers Memorial Service today.
To the family members, partners, colleagues, and friends who have traveled here today to remember your loved ones, we know it is impossible to understand the grief you endure or to fully comprehend your loss.
And the ceremony honors local, state, and federal peace officers who have been killed or disabled in the line of duty. 11 officers from Kentucky are being added to the memorial, including 3 killed in an ambush in eastern Kentucky. 5 officers from Indiana will be added, including Sierra Burton from Richmond, who died days after being shot during a traffic stop. National Police Week runs until Saturday.
Gerber says potentially contaminated baby formula reached retailers in 8 states, including Kentucky and Indiana. The products include 12.4-ounce cans of Good Start Soothe Pro powdered infant formula. Those manufactured between January 2nd and the 18th could contain a germ with the potential to seriously sicken infants. Although there haven't been reports of any babies getting sick from the formula, the FDA says that you should check the formula containers. It has more information on its website.
Now, your WLKY weather with Chief Meteorologist Jay Cardosi.
Okay, outside right now, my goodness, increasing amounts of sunshine. It is pretty out there late on this Monday afternoon. Get out and enjoy. What you see is what you're going to get going forward the next several hours. And then it looks like a little wave of impact weather will push through here tomorrow. Now, here's the deal about tomorrow. It's not going to rain all day, but have the umbrellas ready to go. Could be a couple of scattered showers early, but I believe the best chances midday through about mid-afternoon. More on that coming up in just a second. No rain now. We've got some sunshine. Boy, it's beautiful. 75 degrees. The humidity just shy of 50%. That northeasterly wind between 5 and 10 miles an hour. Around the city we go. The range 73 to 76 degrees. Fern Creek coming in with that warm spot. And as we pull out and take a look at all of the viewing area, temperatures 70 to 75 in southern Indiana, up the I-71 corridor. And then we're close to 80 the farther south you go. So again, quite the range north to south, but beautiful for just about everybody. Now the clouds, as you know, very thick the first part of the day. Even had a sprinkle in a few spots during the early afternoon. They are now showing signs of thinning out, and certainly they were thinner across the southern parts of Kentucky, hence the warmer air. But what I'm watching here is this little batch of disturbed weather. Kansas, Oklahoma, portions of Arkansas, especially southern Missouri. That thing is going to ride the jet stream slowly towards the Ohio Valley tomorrow. So here's what it means. When you wake up in the morning, there's going to be a chance for an isolated shower. Really nothing more than that, bright and early. Temperatures a mix of upper 50s to low and even middle 60s, warmest the farther south you go. Okay, so here's tomorrow morning on the Futurecast. Notice there could be an isolated shower. But as that energy approaches, the chances for scattered showers increase midday, and even tomorrow afternoon, a couple of bigger thunderstorms will be possible, especially south of the metro. And some of these storms could be kind of strong, if not severe, in a few spots. Right now, we do have a threat for a couple of stronger cells. There's a slight risk for some severe weather, most notably tomorrow early to mid-afternoon, south of the parkways, and again, south of the metro. Something I'm watching. The primary threats would be some hail and especially some wind, some straight line wind. So I'll definitely be here keeping you up to date. All right, 73 degrees for tomorrow with that scattering of showers, a few storms. The system moves through Wednesday, Thursday. Wow, that's beautiful. Middle and upper 70s, low humidity, lots of sunshine. Pushing into the weekend, the next week system moves through late Friday through early Saturday with it. Another chance for a few showers. The rain clears out by Saturday afternoon. And the second half of the weekend will be the pick of the weekend the way it looks right now. Sunday looks gorgeous. Sunshine and 75.
Beautiful Sunday, huh?
Sunday bike ride or a Sunday drive.
That's right.
Thank you, Jay.
Sure.
Well, there are growing concerns tonight about artificial intelligence. We're getting the facts about what AI really is and what you need to know to protect yourself.
You can use your phone for just about anything these days, and now local doctors are using it to track your progress post-surgery. We'll explain how it works. Still ahead on WLKY News.
And before we get a break, let's take a look at those lottery jackpots. Tomorrow's Mega Millions is $113 million, and tonight's Powerball jackpot, $135 million.
All right, Wall Street drifted higher today, which is a good sign. The Dow was up almost 48 points. The Nasdaq was up 80 and a half. The S&P 500 climbed 12 and a fifth.
If you're traveling for the upcoming holiday weekend, you will not be alone. AAA is predicting this could be the busiest Memorial Day weekend at airports since 2005. The organization expects an increase in air travel of 11% over the last year. Highways will be crowded too. AAA is predicting 37 million people road tripping, which is a 6% increase over last year. Artificial intelligence is set to take center stage on our national capitals tomorrow.
Congress will hold hearings and receive testimony from the industry's leading experts. Christopher Salas gets the facts on AI.
Get the facts on artificial intelligence. The first thing to know is, what exactly is AI? Well, Merriam-Webster's dictionary defines it as the capability of a machine to imitate intelligent human behavior. Now, we've been using certain forms of AI for years on some level. Like when you start typing something into Google, well, use Abraham Lincoln, for example, and you see how it offers suggestions to finish your thought. That's AI. But what you're hearing about now is generative AI. And this new generation of artificial intelligence can write text. It can have a conversation with you and even make its own images and videos. Large language models, those are programs like ChatGPT, and they can write a 1,000-word essay on Abraham Lincoln in a matter of seconds. To do that, the system draws from huge sets of data that's been inputted by humans. Let's go back to the definition of AI. Imitating intelligent human behavior. So while you may end up with an essay on Abraham Lincoln that's well written, it could also be full of mistakes and incorrect information because it's compiling the data in a way that could potentially be wrong. That's because AI systems are not all-knowing and they're not self-aware. They're just imitating what they've been taught. Like all technology, experts say this could make humans' lives easier and more efficient. But also, like all technology, experts warn it could be used maliciously, like to scam people and create and spread disinformation. A final important reminder when it comes to AI. Like everything you see on the internet, just because it looks real doesn't mean it is. Helping you get the facts, I'm Christopher Salas.
AI experts and political scientists say potential misinformation will have significant implications for next year's U.S. elections.
5 people were shot and 1 person was killed in downtown Louisville this weekend. Up next, hear from city leaders who say they've had enough of gun violence plaguing the city.
Dozens of slaves are possibly buried on a family plot in the Zachary Taylor National Cemetery. Look at the effort to identify them and correct a historic wrong. Next on WLKY News.
You're watching WLKY News.
We're all very frustrated and very tired of the violence.
New at 5:30, following a violent weekend in downtown Louisville, city leaders say they've had enough of gun violence. 5 people were shot. 1 person was killed on South 4th Street in the heart of downtown Louisville late Saturday night.
WLKY's Madeline Carter spoke to city leaders and community activists as they work to address ongoing violence in the downtown area.
People are resolving disputes with guns instead of words, instead of discussion.
Mayor Craig Greenberg says he's horrified by what happened in downtown Louisville late Saturday night. 5 people shot, 1 killed, after a fight led to an exchange of gunfire on South 4th Street. 22-year-old DeMonte Marshall died at the hospital. 1 victim is in critical condition, 3 are in stable condition, according to Louisville Metro Police. Days later, you can still see the shattered glass from the bullets fired outside Sicilian Pizza and Pasta.
Saturday night's deadly shooting happened just feet away from the Palace Theater. Thankfully, there wasn't a show going on that night, but this happened at a time when typically a lot of people would be out on the sidewalks of downtown Louisville.
It's not good. It is bad.
Community activist Christopher 2X believes Louisville is trending in the wrong direction. So far this month, LMPD has investigated 7 homicides. In April, 22 people were killed, including the shootings at Old National Bank and Chickasaw Park. So far this year, there have been 65 homicides.
The violence has spread so wide now, it's hard for those who have good faith efforts in law enforcement and even in community spaces to try to get a grip on how you try to slow this deal down.
Mayor Greenberg is calling on state lawmakers to step up and help stop the violence.
Until our state gets serious about giving us in Louisville the tools that we need to reduce the amount of illegal guns that are in the wrong hands on the wrong street, regardless of what neighborhood, this will continue happening.
Madeline Carter, WLKY News.
And the Louisville Downtown Partnership is looking to increase the number of LMPD officers patrolling the downtown area. Right now, there are 14 patrol officers. The goal is to add 10 more, but no word yet on when this may happen.
A Southern Indiana man admitted to a gun shop burglary. Calvin Johnson pleaded guilty to theft from a federally licensed firearms dealer. Security cameras showed the 20-year-old alongside other suspects using a hammer to break a display case at a Bedford knife and gun shop in January of 2022. He took 16 handguns from the case and put them inside a backpack. He was sentenced to 14 months in prison, must also be supervised for 2 years following his release.
A discovery at Zachary Taylor National Cemetery has a living family member of the 12th U.S. president on a quest to trace the history of the enslaved. Gary Mattingly found that more than 50 slaves are possibly buried at the cemetery in unmarked graves. WLKY's Alexis Matthews spoke to him and historians about the discovery and preserving their memory.
Within Zachary Taylor National Cemetery is a private plot where Taylor's family members are buried. Gary Mattingly manages the site and is a descendant of Taylor.
So this has kind of become my job very recently. I don't have a lot of experience managing a cemetery. That's not my day-to-day job. My day-to-day job is taking care of my kiddos.
The new role is posing new challenges while uncovering a dark and painful past.
There's just this sort of wrong hanging in the air of these people that are unmarked.
Mattingly says documentation from a family historian details that 52 slaves of the former president were possibly buried on a hill in the designated family plot between 1823 and 1850. Their graves are unmarked.
And my initial reaction when I heard it the first time was that that's got to be one of those urban legends, honestly. It did not sound like something that was truly real.
The history of slave graves.
They would just be dumped in mass graves or unmarked graves.
And the treatment of Black people in life and death is real and raw.
What does it say about us and how we value Black life if we're not even marking where people who were once living now lie?
According to Simmons College history professor Dr. Jamar Tisby, only recently, following the racial reckoning of 2020, have steps been taken towards reparation.
Justice delayed is justice denied. But if we can take action now, then perhaps we can interrupt the cycle of injustice.
Mattingly is working to correct the historic wrong by properly identifying and memorializing the forgotten. One method commonly used is ground-penetrating radar, where underground areas are mapped using radar pulses. One company successfully discovering thousands of unmarked burial sites across the country with this is Omega Mapping Services.
Every one of those represents a gallon of tears that have been poured in the ground around that grave.
For Mattingly, the hope through this project is to finally honor those who have been dishonored.
If we can do whatever that they would want for closure so that their ancestors are properly respected, I feel like all the options should be on the table.
From Louisville, Alexis Matthews, WLKY News.